Hey everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, I wanted to talk about the original Dragon Warrior. I actually sat down, I played through the whole thing today, and I just want to talk about what I love about this game, whether it still stands up or not, and just how good of a game this is despite its age. There's so many things in this game that are so far ahead of its time, and this really just inspired a ton of JRPGs to come. So if you like Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior content like top 10 videos, reviews, guides, and news, please remember to like, subscribe, turn notifications to all so you don't miss the next episode. You can also hype the video if you want to help out, and if you want to help out the channel financially, be sure to join the channel and become a Dragon Warrior today. Now let's get into it. Alright, so today I fired up Dragon Warrior. I just had the itch to go back to the original and play it. It's been way too long since I've played the original, so today I just wanted to play through it. I fired it up first thing this morning, finished it at about 8:30 p.m. and man, let me tell you, I still love this game. I've mentioned it before how I really just feel at home in the world or land of Alefgard. Starting in Tantagel Castle once more from scratch, it just felt so good. It just felt like going home for the holidays to your old hometown and hanging out at your old haunts. I just absolutely loved it. I always skip all the gear in Breckenary and just go straight for the stuff in Gallenholm. So that is what I did, like always. And one of the coolest things about Dragon Warrior is how alive the world feels and its characters feel, despite it being one of the earliest JRPGs of all time, especially on console. This game does such an excellent job of directing you where you need to go just by talking to the villagers. And I feel it works so well because there are a lot of modern day JRPGs that do use this as well, but because of the limitations in Dragon Warrior, I think it almost works better, because instead of having to try and talk to 500 NPCs in town to figure out where to go next, there's only maybe 6. You know what I mean? And they all have something important to say, whether it be the name of the town, or that they've heard some rumors about something in a different town, or they heard the princess was taken out east, or that one of the towns was wiped out by the Dragon Lord's minions to the south. There's just so much world building in such an early game, and it just impressed me because, like I said, I've played this game a million times, but it has been years since I went back and replayed the original, so it feels so good to go back and almost like validate my love for it, I guess, because a lot of times you've got like a childhood game that you just played over and over again, or you just played forever. Maybe you didn't even finish it, but you just played it all the time. You have all these fond memories of it, but then when you go back to it, it just kind of like turns out to be shit. And that's not the case here, thank goodness. It is grindy. It's very grindy. I gotta say, I love grinding, so not the biggest deal to me, but if you are not a fan of grinding, stick with the HD 2D remakes of Dragon Quest 1 and 2, let me tell you. This game is like probably 80 to 90% grinding, to be completely honest. If you're not grinding for EXP, you're grinding for gold. A lot of the equipment in this game is super expensive, and if you die, you end up going back to Tantagel Castle. The king revives you, but he takes half your gold in the process. So the nice thing is you don't lose any like progress. If you were to die in like Final Fantasy, for example, and you haven't saved in hours, everything you did in those past 2 hours is gone. You have to redo everything. In Dragon Warrior, it's again ahead of its time here. You do not lose everything that happened. You just lose half your gold and you just keep on trucking. Any items you may have gotten, any progress in like the main quest that you've achieved is still there. There are essentially no game overs. If you want to go, the quest always continues. There have been times where I just want to like get the object at the bottom of the cave, but I don't have the outside spell yet, so I make sure I buy an expensive new weapon or armor so that when I go in this cave, I can get the item down there, I can die and not feel bad about it, and just use it almost like a death warp to get back to Tantagel Castle. Speaking of the outside spell, there's something that the Dragon Quest series has had from the beginning that other JRPGs, for whatever reason, do not have, and it's very sorely missed when I go from a Dragon Quest game to another game, and that is the outside spell and the zoom spell. The ability to just warp back to town whenever you need to, or exit the dungeon whenever you need to. Of course, it's been expanded upon in later entries where you can go to any town, and now even any cave that you've been to before. This is something that the Dragon Quest series has always had, and us fans of the Dragon Quest series just always take for granted until you go and play a different JRPG and you're like, oh man, there's like no fast travel here at all. A lot of newer games are starting to get that as a normal feature, but it's been with the Dragon Quest franchise since the very beginning, which is crazy. You can go back to Tantagel at any time by just casting the return spell or using a Chimera Wing. Tantagel really is a massive hub here because you always have to come back to Tantagel in order to save the game. There's also like specific items that you need to complete the game that are located hidden in Tantagel. And then of course, once you rescue Princess Gwaelin, you bring her back to Tantagel. I've mentioned it before, Dragon Warrior has a multitude of different endings. You can either not rescue the princess, you can rescue the princess when you're supposed to rescue her and bring her back to the castle. You can wait until right before the Dragon Lord and rescue her and turn her over to the Dragon Lord as some kind of a sacrifice, or you could just beat his ass with your princess in your arms. And it's just so amazing, the fact that one of, if not the first NES JRPGs has this much variety in endings. You can also join the Dragon Lord, of course, and he offers you half the world, but it just kicks you back out to the last time you saved, and you lose. That's the only time you're going to lose any progress, is if you actually try to side with the Dragon Lord. Speaking of the Dragon Lord, the game does such an amazing job of making you kind of feel his impact on Alefgard. There's constantly people talking about how they lost loved ones to the Dragon Lord's minions, or the Dragon Lord's people are on their way, or I heard the Dragon Lord's scales are stronger than steel and there's no weapon that can pierce them. There's just so much foreboding when it comes to the Dragon Lord himself and what he has done to this world, and it kind of just fuels you a little bit. It makes you want to get better, makes you want to keep pushing to take him on. Now, there are some excellent boss fights in this. You of course got the Green Dragon, who's one of my personal favorite boss fights of all time. I absolutely love this guy. He's also probably my favorite Dragon Quest monster of all time. And then you've got the Golem of Cantlin. It's this golem that is said to guard Cantlin, but it has gone mad and it attacks you as you approach. There is also the Axe Knight, I believe it's called, or the Mad Axer, and he is who's guarding what's left of Hawksness. Him and his army basically invaded the town of Hawksness and completely obliterated it. This shows what the Dragon Lord and his people are capable of if they are not stopped, and I think that is a really cool thing that the game does. There's not a lot of games or JRPGs where there's a town whose sole purpose is to show you and give an example of what will happen to the world if you don't stop the big bad. And Dragon Quest, as an early JRPG, is ahead of its time once again and shows this. It's really cool to see what could happen to the world, and it again just drives you to keep pushing on and getting stronger. This is a very difficult game, I must say, because of how grind intensive it is. And when you're grinding, there'll be parts where you're like kind of over leveled, but now you're under geared because you died earlier and lost half your gold. Grinding in the like mid to late game is always super dangerous. You never know if you're gonna make it back to town and save before you get your ass beat and lose half your gold once again. It gives you almost like an adrenaline rush when you're going through some of these new areas or exploring parts of the world that you haven't explored before because of that difficulty. Once you get to the Dragon Lord's castle, Charlock Castle, first of all, I gotta say how amazing it is that they planned it so that right when you start the game, Charlock Castle is right across the river there, just looming in the background, and you can't reach it unless you create, of course, the rainbow drop by collecting a series of different items and combining them to create the rainbow drop, to create the rainbow bridge, which gives you access to the island that Charlock Castle is on, which is the name of the Dragon Lord's castle. Now, of course, once you get in there, you have to search for the secret entrance to get beneath the castle, because that's where the true final dungeon awaits. And of course, you collect Erdrick's armor, you get the Mark of Erdrick to prove yourself as a descendant of Erdrick, although I don't understand why you need that. Everybody's already telling you you're the descendant of Erdrick Erdrick, and anyone could really probably just find the item in the swamp and then claim to be Erdrick. But I guess if it's this difficult for a descendant of Erdrick to traverse that area and get the emblem, probably nobody else in this world or land would be able to do that anyways. So I guess it does kind of work as proof. But yeah, you get Erdrick's armor, which heals every step you take, which is absolutely amazing. And then you get Erdrick's sword, the only sword possible of piercing the Dragon Lord's scales. I don't know if another weapon can. I've never tried fighting the Dragon Lord without Erdrick's sword, but Erdrick's sword is indeed inside the Dragon Lord's castle, which is pretty cool. So you got to go down there. You got to almost go down there twice. I usually go down there, grab Erdrick's sword, come up for air, load up on medical herbs and all that, and then head back down to finally face off against the Dragon Lord himself. The enemies in here are really powerful. You've got a ton of different dragons and armor knights and wizards and all that. But once you finally get to the bottom floor, for some reason, you're like outdoors again. I'm not too sure how that works. But anyways, you get to the final floor and you face off against the Dragon Lord himself after turning down his offer. And the first form, honestly, not too difficult. As long as you can get here without wasting a ton of MP, because it's going to be your MP that really matters here, because you need heal more and you need to use it almost every second turn against his true form. I gotta say, I love the original NES color schemes of the Dragon Lord and his true form. He's kind of like blue with like the reddish pink accents, like his horns and claws and stuff like that. I love the look of that. I wish that they'd keep that look for every other game going forward, but unfortunately now he's like this gigantic purple dude. Either way, you face off against him. His first form, if you can avoid his stop spell, which will prevent you from casting magic and making you completely fucked, you can then easily defeat the first form and he transforms immediately into his true form. And this is where the big battle begins. This guy can deal probably about a third of your health in every single turn. So you're going to want to take pot shots at him and then be healing almost every second turn. It's just an intense battle that you're never guaranteed to win. And I think that's part of its charm. That's part of what excites you during the battle and the treacherous journey there as well, because Charlotte Castle isn't easy to traverse in the first place, let alone fighting this incredible boss at the end of it. And then of course, once you finally defeat the Dragon Lord, you get to go on your victory tour, something the Dragon Quest franchise is well known for. You can talk to all the villagers and they'll tell you how happy they are that you defeated the big bad and congratulate you and all that. And then of course, you're welcomed back into Tantagel Castle by the king and his men, and the king offers you his castle, but you tell him, no, I would rather discover my own lands and rule over those. And the princess comes, joins you. You can try to turn her down, but you get stuck in the old but thou must loop. So she comes with you. The trumpets play into a chorus to ring out the ending of the game and the credits roll. What a fantastic NES game. Such an early NES game too. And they did such an amazing job of this. I can't get over how I still had like that sense of exploration, even though I've played through the game a million times before. And that sense of dread, like, am I going to make it to the next town, or do we have to go back, heal, and try again? Because every time you set out to journey to a new land, you're risking your life. It's always difficult, even if you're like over leveled, like I said. So very good game. I love the combat. I love the monster designs. The music is catchy as hell. For being the first Dragon Quest game or Dragon Warrior, it just knocks it out of the park in my opinion. And it really tells you why the Dragon Quest games are as timeless as they are. Let me know your thoughts on the original Dragon Warrior. Have you ever played it? When did you play it? How did you get your hands on it? And what did you think of it? If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, turn notifications to all so you don't miss the next one. You can also hype the video to help others find it. And if you want to help the channel out financially, be sure to join the channel and become a Dragon Warrior today. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I will see you in the next one.